Well, it's a sunny Friday afternoon here in Llandudno. I've just had the privilege of opening the Deafblind anniversary event, celebrating 90 years of the charity, and it was a really entertaining session, to say the least. Plenty of charitable organisations there telling people what they can offer, and on top of that there was the rather good Bay Drifters ukulele band who were certainly entertaining the individuals who turned up. So a really good community event here in Llandudno. But I've been back from my travels, as you possibly were aware, with my Ministry of Defence hats on. I've recently travelled to India, Jakarta in Indonesia, and then to Malaysia. And the whole point of that was to talk about trade opportunities for the United Kingdom. And clearly, regardless of your view of Brexit, those trade opportunities are now really quite important. However, as I was travelling the world, things were happening in the Middle East, which resulted in some very tense debate in the House of Commons on Monday and Tuesday. On Monday we had the Scottish Nationalist Party motion, which was criticising the Prime Minister's decision to do a surgical strike on the chemical weapon bases in Syria, defeated by almost 300 votes. And the reason for that was because the Labour Party declined to vote against the actions of the government, which I think was probably the right thing for them to do. But on Tuesday we had the bizarre situation in which the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn, brought forward a motion which would now say that no further military action could ever be undertaken by a British government without first having a vote in the House of Commons. Now, that proposition is rather odd, because ultimately, when you think about it, if you are going to place servicemen and women's lives in danger, the last thing you should be doing is highlighting that fact in advance. And a parliamentary debate before you send 4 planes into action is actually giving prior warning that 4 planes will be in action. And a question was asked by a Labour backbencher, Chris Leslie, in view of the fact that special forces always have to be deployed in a secret manner. How could you have a law which says that any military action has to be authorised by Parliament and yet still have special forces operating in a secret manner? There was no answer forthcoming from the Leader of the Opposition, and the confusion of Jeremy Corbyn on this issue came to the fore when he decided to vote against his own motion. Now, I'm not sure how that worked, but he put forward a motion and ended up asking his MPs to vote against the motion that he had submitted to the House. Now, the result of that was that 54 Labour MPs refused to back their leader. The Conservative Party was unified, and I think it tells you everything you need to know about the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. Dysfunctional, not focused, and trying to create political opportunities out of real issues of hardship for people in Syria. And I think the problems of the Labour Party were highlighted that afternoon as well on Tuesday, when we had a harrowing debate on the rise of anti-Semitism in the United Kingdom. It was a harrowing debate, and it's well worth your while looking at the speeches given by John Mann, who's a Labour MP, Ruth Smith, who's a Labour MP, and Louisiana Berger, who's a Labour MP. 3 strong, heartbreaking speeches highlighting the rise of anti-Semitism in this country, and all 3 of them pointing the finger very clearly at the hard left of the Labour Party. All 3 of them asking why, 2 years after the Labour Party admitted that they had a problem, no action has been taken. I think it's an utterly disgraceful situation, and I think something has to be done about the rise of the anti-Semitic movement on the far left of British politics. On a brighter note, I was very pleased to go down to Portsmouth on Thursday to see the Navy, and not least the significant investments going into our warships. I think the reinvestment in the Navy is something we should be proud of, not least the fact that we are for the first time in a generation growing our surface fleet. When you read the papers, you'd be under the impression that we were cutting defence spending, but nothing is actually further from the truth. And finally, back in the constituency on Friday, it's been a morning in my constituency office, meeting with constituents. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of opening this event this afternoon, and I'll be moving on to an event in Ysgol Aberconwy. So the usual Friday in a constituency. I hope it won't be 2 weeks until my next video recording, but the way my diary is at the moment, it might well be. But in the meantime, thank you once again for listening.